state Senate unveiled a new personal income tax plan. A committee of legislators gutted Governor Mary Fallon's original proposal after the measure was voted down. Hi, I'm Dave Morris, and here to talk more about this bill and other events at the Capitol are my friends and reporters Michael McNutt and Zeke Campfield. Gentlemen, thanks so much for your time this morning.
You bet, Dave.
Appreciate it. I'm trying to grow a beard to match these guys. Michael, how is this legislation different than Governor Mary Fallon's original bill?
Well, originally it's pretty simple differences. This new proposal would not go into effect until a year later, January 1st, 2015. The governor's proposal would have gone into effect January 1st, 2014. Other than that, it's a little deeper cut. The governor called for reducing the top personal income tax rate from 5.25% to 5%. The new proposal now calls for getting below 5%, 4.95%, which they feel it kind of gets business's attention, and other people are looking at Oklahoma. We could get below that 5% rate because Texas doesn't have a personal income tax rate, and Kansas is at 4.9. So they thought that would be good to get that below that. The other big difference is that the governor's proposal is simply a cut of 1/4%. In addition to this 0.30%, also the new proposal calls for changing some 5 business tax credits that are transferable. And really what it means is that there are 5 groups, wind power, coal, and some others, that when they get tax credits, if their liability isn't as great, they don't need all those tax credits, they can sell them to others, mainly insurance companies, who do have a large tax liability. And they sell them for like 80 cents on a dollar. And the insurance company just put that on their liability bill. So the state doesn't get that full tax money from the people who buy these tax credits. That would change. You no longer under this bill, they couldn't transfer those tax credits. They could, though, refund them to the state, and they would get 80%, 80 cents on a dollar on that. So that would change that. And that's, we'll see how that goes. Whenever they've tried to tamper with business corporate tax credits, we've seen the lobbyists come out and pretty much kill any type of legislation like that. Big difference now, big battle in the Republican majorities is, do we want a tax cut now, or do we want to wait a year? And the argument for waiting a year is that we have a lot of needs still in the state because we're still recovering from that recession of 2008.
I think you may have mentioned this off the top, but when would the cuts go into effect?
Well, the old bill, the governor's proposal would have gone into effect January 1st. The new proposal now would go into effect January 1st, 2015. So it would give time for this coming fiscal year, which starts July 1st. We know the legislators want to put more money into common education, public schools. They're talking about $75 to $100 million more. The governor wants some money to go to mental health, some Medicaid payments, as well as the Department of Human Services with the Pinnacle Plan. That's that federal court ruling that requires so many changes in child welfare, how we handle child welfare cases in the state. That's going to require about another $45 million. So, in addition, there's requests for pay raises, especially for troopers and correctional officers, as well as other state employees. So you start adding up all these additional costs, as well as just the traditional cost of living increases and expenses. Some legislators are saying, look, there's so much on the plate, we can't afford a tax cut in the 2014 fiscal year. Let's just postpone it a year. And others who don't want, the Democrats mainly, are saying we don't need an income tax cut at all. Let's fully fund education, other core services. Let's not even worry about it until we find out next year what the economic indicators are for the state.
All right, that's Michael McNutt. We're going to turn things over to Zeke Campfield now, also from the Oklahoma's Capitol Bureau. The Oklahoma House of Representatives released a new workers' comp bill on Thursday. Some of the cuts in compensation proposed in February were rolled back in a new piece of legislation. And Zeke, my question is, what kind of amendments did state leaders make to Senate Bill 1062?
Well, the new bill is pretty similar to the old bill. The basic foundation of the bill, which is to move into an administrative system and away from the court-based system that we're in now, and to give employers the option to opt out of workers' comp, are still in there. What they did, though, is they took away some of the more controversial cuts that had received the loudest complaints, cuts to workers who were amputated on the job, cuts to workers who died and their widows had certain limitations on how long and how much they could collect for those issues. The cost is still the same. They made up for it in other areas, but they pretty much have the same bill. The issue, I think, now is in the fine details, and they're going to take that before a committee, and that's on Tuesday. And it looks like over the next several weeks, maybe a month or longer, they're going to try to reconcile the two different versions of the bills to try to come up with something that works for both legislative bodies.
Why such a strong focus on workers' comp reform?
You know, the Senate President Pro Tem, Brian Bingman, listed it among his top, if not his top priority for the legislative session. And it's been worked on for years and years. The Oklahoma, the state chamber has really been pushing for it. They complain that the current system is just taxing businesses too much. And they use figures such as Oklahoma ranks among the 6th lowest in the nation when it comes into terms of the cost of their workers' comp program. And they say that there's an enormous amount of claims filed here compared to some of the other states in the region, and that it's become a system that's focused on lawyers and on the courtrooms and is not doing what it needs to do to just get the workers treated and get them back to work. They say that these reforms will be better for the employers, better for the businesses, and fundamentally they'll be better for the employees, well, they say, because it'll get them treated and get them back to work.
Zeke Campfield, Michael McNutt, gentlemen, thanks so much for your time and knowledge this morning.
You bet.
Find more coverage from these guys every day in the Oklahoman. It's a busy time of the year for them. And of course online at newsok.com.